Okay, this coming September 27, we will be celebrating the Feast of St. Vincent de Paul, the founder of my religious community. And I love St. Vincent de Paul. He was someone who was raised in France from a pretty poor family, and then he became a priest so they could get money for his family. But later he had a conversion of heart after he became a priest. And so his conversion was to start working with the most poor and abandoned, especially in poor countrysides outside of Paris, but also in Paris, France itself. So my community was founded by Vincent de Paul in 1625 to carry on his work of evangelizing the most poor, those who are abandoned as well. Also to do training for clergy at the time and to build up the different lay communities that he had already founded for sure, the Ladies of Charity, and later he founded the Daughters of Charity, our sister community. So when we celebrate the Feast of St. Vincent de Paul, we're really celebrating his spirit and his spirit of working for the most poor and abandoned as well. So here at the parish, we'll do that September 22nd, right before the 27th. But it's a time for us to recognize how we're all called to go out and serve others, especially those who are most in need.
It means seeing Jesus in the most vulnerable and most in need and helping them in however way you can.
And that was Vincent's thing. Because people recognized Vincent as someone who was genuinely serving the poor, loving the poor, and doing everything that he could to make sure that the poor were empowered and fed, receiving love and affection from the priests that were serving them. People trusted Vincent. Early on in his life, Vincent couldn't rub two nickels together because he was kind of self-serving and he hadn't had his conversion yet. And the conversion was about one-on-one with a person, not just with an idea of, we're going to help the poor. I'm helping this person that is in front of me, who has a name, who has a story, who has, a connection, a heart connection with me, and that changed his life. He had this incredible charism of like all the richest, fanciest people in Paris at the time. There's a great big difference between the rich and the poor in France during his day. And because of his charismatic message of serving, if you want to serve Christ, find the poor. There's where you're going to find your mission. He had these great ladies of great wealth in Paris knocking each other over to do bedpans and latrines and anything they could do that was, the more demeaning it was from their great state in life, the better, the more attracted they were to it. And I just love his charism. He had to have, and of course at the end of the day, after he's been with poor people all day long, trying to serve their needs, at the end of the day, who does he have tea with? The Queen of France, who sent her carriage to pick him up, and he used to call it his shame. The shame that, the Queen is, sending this carriage, this fabulous carriage, and he got in it nonetheless. So it's like, okay, Vince, he didn't say, oh no, I'll just walk. So he was a very practical man.
We have 5 virtues that we have for our religious community, the Vincentians. They are simplicity, humility, meekness, mortification, and zeal for souls. So like the first one, simplicity, is sort of what it says. In some ways, we're called to live a simple way of life, but also in how we approach things, that we answer simply and we don't try to be too fancy or beat around the bush, more or less, but get to the truth of the matter.
My motto for my classroom is don't make it hard. And so I'm very drawn to saying, let's cut to the chase and try to break everything down for the children. And I also do that in my own life to make life a little bit easier. I think that probably would be the best description of me personally. I try to make things easier, to try to cut down on stress and kind of make it easier for the children and for myself.
Simplicity is just keeping it to a few things, staying focused on the right things. So number 1 would be God.
I really like the idea of simplicity, and I was really drawn to the Holy Trinity community because of this Vincentian tradition and call to service and really putting others before you. And I think in today's world, there's just so many material things that people have in their mind as a need, but it's really a want. And it's easy, right? We all do it. I do it probably because of Amazon. But everything is readily available to us, and so that call to simplicity is very humbling and is challenging, I think. But it's, I think, an important part of who we are as a Vincentian community.
Humility in the sense of we're called to also be humble and to lower ourselves in some ways, to live better in community, but also when we're serving other people, that we are called to recognize that we don't know it all and that God may be moving better in the people that we serve with as well, and to recognize that also.
To me, humility means being true to yourself, being honest, being just not overstating it or trying to be flashy. You're just being yourself, and you are proud of being yourself, and you're not trying to convince anyone that you're anything else.
Putting others before yourself and seeing the humanity in others and feeling, having empathy.
Putting your thoughts of yourself and taking them down, and just remembering that you are equal in the eyes of God, and so is everyone else, and to just treat everyone with love and respect, and love your neighbor as yourself.
It means being able to, look at people and love them for who they are, and also, be able to, look into people's lives and see what they're going through and how you can help them, in whatever they're going through.
Meekness, which is somewhat similar, but it's our approach towards how we go about serving, meaning that we also recognize, once again, we don't know it all, but that we try to lower ourselves in the sense of not always pretending we're an expert, not always saying that, we're the one in charge, but that we can approach people on the same level that they're at.
Meekness, I guess I think of humbleness as well. And so just keeping things simple, being humble, and just knowing that everything we have comes from God.
Bueno, para mí ser una persona amable significa pues poder estar siempre como en la disposición de ayudar. Yo creo que es muy importante que cuando uno va a ayudar, pueda ayudar desde su corazón, ¿no? Desde lo que esa persona tiene para dar. Nadie puede dar lo que no tiene, entonces creo que siempre podemos ayudar con algo. Creo que todos tenemos algo con lo que podemos ayudar, no importa con qué pequeño o grande sea. Para mí ese ser pues gentil o amable, ¿no? A apoyar y ayudar a las personas, aunque sea con un gesto muy pequeño.
Mortification is a self-denial, so it's related a lot to humility in some ways too. But what it is to say, I'm going to give up things in my life in order to serve better as well. That can also be done spiritually, meaning that I'm going to give up maybe some time that I would rather do other things, or pray in one way to go serve people and do prayer as my service also. Zeal for souls is we have this sort of an energy, or some sort of it's more than enthusiasm, but it's this kind of impulse of the Spirit to go out and to be with people and evangelize and proclaim what the way of God is, and just get people to really know more about God in Jesus.
Zeal means a thirst for something that's inside of you, a passion, something you're very passionate about.
I'm definitely drawn to zeal. I went to a public school until high school, and then I went to a Zavarian Brothers sponsored school, and zeal was one of our charisms as a Zavarian Brothers sponsored school. And then in 2018, I graduated from the Remick Leadership Program at the University of Notre Dame, and one of our charisms there was zeal. And so their sort of branding for the Remick program is lead with zeal. So that's something I always try to carry in my heart, is that like deep fervor and love for God, to be driven by that deep love for God. That's what makes my job possible. Being a principal is challenging, and I think the desire to get up and to serve God and to show that love for God really carries me forward. So zeal is one that I definitely resonate with.
The charism of Vincent de Paul is so alive in this world today. We talk about, oh well, we're worried about our numbers of priests or whatever. The charism is so alive, and all we do is plant seeds and let God do what God does in terms of having planted that seed.